This time on Disaster Empire Quick Views, we have Jonathan Hartmann of Fusion Risk Management. And I am excited to have him on the channel today to really talk about the work that Fusion is doing in the industry. They're shaking things up in a positive way, and I want you to hear more from him on how they're doing that. But first, I want to let you know a little bit about Jonathan if you're not familiar with him. So I'm going to turn this over to you. And if you can give people a little bit of your background and how you got into the industry, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me here today, Ashley. It's been fun seeing you again on the road, and I'm excited to kind of share some of the stuff that we've been doing here at Fusion. So I started with the company about 6 years ago. I actually think 2 days ago it was my anniversary, depending on when this goes live.
Congrats.
And I brought in, I was brought in to mature our field marketing program. So didn't have an industry background, didn't have a sales background. Prior to Fusion, I spent 3 years at a data center consulting company here in Chicago. So have a really good understanding of kind of the migration to cloud technologies, general disaster recovery principles for the stack, but then also the general technology, right, supporting larger enterprises and how they were transforming IT. And so after that, it was a really natural progression for me to come over at Fusion. So in my role, kind of growing out field marketing, worked really closely with a lot of our clients on presentations and workshops and product demonstrations. Tracy Rice was a bit of a mentor to me. And so spending time with her and our Engage program, I learned more and more about the industry, the challenges that a lot of clients in the space were facing, but then also trends in resilience, essentially being on the road, spending time with clients, talking to them about their programs. So this year, I decided to take all that knowledge and that experience and join our revenue team. So I specialize in insurance, and I'm focused on not only helping sort of new clients evaluate Fusion, but recently and really focused on building out this community specifically for folks within insurance, where both existing clients and prospective clients can connect, share their best practices, kind of what struggles are they facing in their changing technology environments, changing regulatory environments, and then really just ways that they can address those challenges and avoid common pitfalls. So kind of a little background on me and what I'm focused on here this year.
Thanks for that. And hey, before we dive in, any fun fact or other thing that you want to share?
Yeah, so I just got engaged in May 25th of this year. So everything that I do, everything in the back of my mind is always, is this a great venue to host a wedding? And what kind of delicious snacks are we going to have for our guests when we wrap things up around 11 or 12 o'clock at night?
Great. It's definitely a large scale event to plan. So let me know how everything goes with that. I'm sure it's going to be a fabulous event. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, as we get started and dive in, you talked about the shift that you made in the industry, joining Fusion. Can you talk a little bit about what you've learned on that journey and what's been maybe most eye-opening for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the most eye-opening piece is how closely aligned business resilience and technology resilience really should be. Larger and larger companies are really reliant on technology to be a business driver, and that was a pretty standard message at my last company. And so, being sort of on the business resilience side, what it comes down to is how do we go about ensuring that our processes can continue on, even if that technology is disrupted or if that vendor is disrupted. So pretty natural progression there. It was nice.
Thank you for that. And resilience is a term that's like taken off like wildfire throughout the industry, but what does it mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, resilience is really about being able to continue delivering products and services, right? Whether it's in insurance, it's being able to process a claim. If you're in a manufacturing company, it's being able to produce, products for the marketplace, and being able to continue delivering those products and services regardless of the circumstances. So one sentence, I guess, with a lot of underlying complexity. What are our key services? What do we actually need to continue delivering them? What kind of disruptions are likely? But I think for me, and this is something that I've imparted to new employees at Fusion, if we can understand how our business works, then we can understand where it might break. And in turn, where can we focus our attention on reducing, either the likelihood that it might break or how to increase or accelerate our ability to fix that break when it does.
Thank you for that. And I know Fusion, we all know Fusion is, a major software vendor in the space, and that you've been doing some interesting work, as I've been observing, with operational resilience specifically. Can you talk a little bit about some of the new initiatives that Fusion's been working on and how you feel it can provide value to those practitioners like myself out here doing the work on the day-to-day?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we always have our pulse on sort of the trends in the space, and we really embraced operational resilience from our inception. Our founders will say, it's not all about planning, right? You have to be ready for whatever you might not know is coming. But I would say recently, with some of the regulatory guidelines kind of coming out of the UK, the idea would be to focus a lot more on the impact to the customer, right? Maybe processing claims, specifically insurance, isn't going to cause a huge issue in terms of our revenue generation, but it does have a very negative impact on the customer. And so I think keeping a pulse on those trends, really understanding, what can we do as practitioners to understand not only how a disruption will affect our bottom line, but affect our clients in the broader marketplace. And then taking some of the good stuff that comes out of those regulatory changes and trying to have it have a positive impact, even if you're an unregulated industry. So I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing that shift, but we're trying to, in talking with clients over here in the States that might not be subject to those regs, really make it meaningful for their business to kind of be that good steward to their clients.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. I think one of the things that's been interesting to see in that space is how Fusion is working to kind of wrap up or to bring, I would say, things a level up in that operational resilience space from the function or the process level, and really show that overall continuum, from the service view from beginning to end. So I think that's great. But, one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on today is to give you a chance to talk about those industry community exchanges that you referenced earlier and launching. Can you talk a little bit about that and how this is an opportunity for practitioners, across the industry from, I think it's from various areas, whether they're BC focused, more resilience, operational resilience focused, or crisis management, et cetera. So love to hear more about that from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And this kind of grows off of what I originally introduced myself as, is really launching and standing up Fusion's field marketing program. So we used to do these in-person events called Innovation Days, and we would go to different regional cities and bring practitioners together to, hear a story or a presentation from some other leader within the space. COVID obviously changed all that, but it gave us an opportunity to broaden that audience. So we did our first industry-focused roundtable. I think it was right at the beginning of September 1st. And we essentially said, we want to bring together insurance practitioners, like you said, regardless of whether it's, business continuity, crisis management, disaster recovery, operational risk, anyone who has a vested interest in ensuring kind of the resilience focus of their organization, and bring them together and have a moderated roundtable. Fusion is privileged to have, both the technical and financial resources to host events like this. Oftentimes with a professional organization or with a regional group, it's volunteers and they may not have the funds or the personnel to support it. So what we wanted to do was create that forum, create that community, and give people prompts, give them a few maybe moderator or panelists, to drive the discussion, but it really is about that open forum. It really is about sort of that curated conversation where if there's a change to a regulation, right? New York Department of Financial Services making changes, or if there's an upcoming disruption that people want to talk about, we give them the ability in that safe space to have that conversation. So that's really what we're focused on doing, is bringing together like-minded folks, so they can air the dirty laundry, or, wave the successful egg, right? Fly the W, as we like to say, as Cubs fans in Chicago. What went well, what was challenging, what's keeping you up at night, and what resources do you have to share with other folks? I think we all kind of feel like we're sometimes in it by ourselves, but having that community of folks where someone else has gone through the same experience, or someone has kind of thought about it, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That really is kind of the experience that we're trying to curate with our industry roundtables. And I head up insurance, but for your listeners that are in other industries like manufacturing or healthcare or financial services, we're offering some options for those folks as well.
Hey, you're throwing down the gauntlet because I'm in Red Sox Nation up here. So I don't know if I like that, Doug. But no, it's a great opportunity that you're providing. One of the things that I was concerned about, though, kind of seeing that spin up, is just the vendor piece of it. And so, my concern, and maybe those of my peers, might be that it's a way for Fusion to kind of data mine or get ideas from clients or non-clients. Because I think these exchanges are open to all, from my understanding. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because you do talk about it being a safe space, or, kind of having those Vegas rules. So I think people would be interested in that before kind of jumping right in.
Yeah, absolutely. And having worked for a vendor in one way or in some capacity or another for the last 10 years of my career, I get that question a lot. So we don't record the sessions, right? We want to keep them as comfortable and as personal as possible. We want folks to feel safe. We want folks to have trust. So that's one thing that we don't do. In terms of it being about Fusion, we're not talking about our products. We're not even really sharing who our customers are. We're inviting folks in that might be interested. So by no means, and I say this at the start of every session, is this about Fusion. We're simply the conduit, right, to connect folks within the space. Again, we're privileged to have both the technical resources, the human capital, as well as the financial backing to be able to host these things. So that's really what our role in it is. And then from a data mining perspective, we do collect emails to give people reminders, but by no means is anybody signed up for a mailing list or on our blog subscription. Welcome to do that if they want to opt in. What we do keep track of are surveys and questionnaires, completely anonymous using a tool called Menti, but we use that to drive the conversation. We collect some really good insights into what topics are clients and prospects interested in discussing. What do you want to hear next, right? And then how would you rank your program in certain areas? So for those that have attended these events in the past, we use sort of an anonymous polling system for folks to enter in their responses and information, and then display those survey results publicly so we can kind of drive and stir the conversation. So that's what we're doing to kind of keep the space protected, and just making sure that it's not another forum for marketing teams to add to their mailing lists. The last thing I would say is that, Fusion, we've been in the space for a long time. We're going to build the trust of our customers. And if they're interested in doing business with us, we're happy to start that process. But this forum, these exchanges are designed for that, an idea exchange, and not for a Fusion sales pitch.
Jonathan, how many of them do you have spun up right now? Do you know that off the top of your head?
Yeah, so we just did our... Yeah, it's a great question. So we did our first insurance roundtable on September 1st. We have our next one coming up on November 30th, I think, and I can check the website for listeners to get the exact number. But I think we have about 6 or 7 different industry exchanges that are spun up. And we'll do meetings for those
get me the link
each quarter. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If you want to get me a link, I can add it below. So definitely. Well, hey, thank you for sharing that. Thanks for the transparency. And I know with my blog, Disaster Empire, I've been sharing trends in the industry. And one of the things that really motivated me was exactly what Fusion is trying to do. is just share that knowledge right out with my industry peers and provide them with another avenue to gain information and to talk about it. So I really commend you guys for starting that. Hey, before we wrap up today, is there anything else that you want people to know about what you're doing, or what Fusion is engaging with now, maybe in the year ahead, that otherwise that they should be interested in or might want to check out?
I would definitely recommend folks to subscribe to our blog. Our subject matter experts put out a boatload of content that we hopefully hopefully it's bringing value out to the industry. We have a variety of different forums that we're sharing, industry opinions and commenting on trends. So definitely recommend that. But otherwise, come check out one of our roundtables. They're free to attend. If you find a lot of value, you can hang out in the background. But if you want to present or if you want to share what's going on in your program, you're welcome to do that as well. Again, we try to make it as flexible and as friendly as possible.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for being on today and sharing the innovation that Fusion is doing in the space. Really appreciate that. Really great to talk to you again. It's always great to see you, even though this time it's virtually, but it's been great to see you in person a couple times recently. And thank you for your time.
Absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity. You're creating a platform for others to bring their resources to the table. And that's probably the most important job of all.
Thank you so much for that.